Without further ado, the food's ready. We'll go ahead, and if you don't care, if you bow your heads, I'll ask a blessing and we'll eat. Father, we come before you now, thanking you for this food that we're about to partake of, Father. We know that it gives us strength and nourishment, and that you give us strength and nourishment as well, Father. We thank you for these young men that we've watched grow up and play ball. We're here to honor the entire team, but I'm thinking specifically of the seniors that we won't be seeing on the field in Lincoln County anymore. We pray that you'll bless them and bless all the team and all the parents, everyone here, but especially the seniors as they go out into the world, spread their wings. They're Falcons. They know how to fly. Just watch over them, Father. Keep them in your loving care. Be with us tonight. In Christ's name, amen. If the seniors would go ahead and go first, that way we can get started with the presentation when y'all get through eating. Sorry, parents.
All right, I don't even know if this is working, but I'm pretty loud so y'all can hear me. We'll go ahead and get started here. I think everybody's close to done, so there's a big college baseball game on I'd like to go home and see, so we're going to get going. Before I start, this is about the team, the 2016 Lincoln County baseball team, obviously, but before I can start talking about the team and the players, which is, again, what this is about, there's a lot of people that need to be thanked, and I'm going to forget most of them, but I'm going to do my best to talk about the ones that I think of. And I did write a few of them down. Firstly, the people who sponsor our program, people like Mike Weatherington, Steve Austin, Pebble Creek Golf Club, and Dan Holt Enterprises, everything else that he does for us. And you know, we could go on and on. We have a sponsor night, and so those people have been thanked. I wanted to thank them again. And you know, Pebble Creek, you can see the hospitality they got going on right now with this place. They host our golf tournament every year. Everybody knows what Mike does for us, and I probably wouldn't be here without Mike. So thanks to those people. The Booster Club, you know, and I said this last year, and I know it more now than I did then. I've never been around a high school baseball program that supported more than this one. Most of you have never been around any other high school baseball programs. There's one guy here that has, and he'll back me up on this, that the support that we have with the Booster Club, putting on things like this with all the fundraisers we do as well, it's not matched anywhere I've been or anywhere that I know of. And I know I've got a lot of friends in baseball, and they're all envious of what and I don't want to say I have, but what we have as a community here with the support, and I could point fingers. It's everybody in this room and many, many more that are not in this room. So I do want to name a few of them. And I'm not going to even begin to name the people who run the golf tournament. We had the ladies down here real early in the morning, and I can't even remember who all they were. You know who you were. Thank you for that. Thank you for the people who were on the course throughout the day, the ham breakfast. You know, I think me and Lee were out there, and there was a lot of others out there about 4 o'clock in the morning getting that thing going. And everybody came through the kitchen, which is probably more hectic than out there on the grill at times. So thanks to all that were involved with that. The sign selling, Todd headed that up, Todd McAdams. Thanks to those people. There was just, and again, I go on and on. One thing that is fresh on my mind, because we're fresh out of the season, is people like the Harwells who help us in the press box. People like the Alcorns and the Richardsons who help us in the concession stand on a nightly basis. Ron, of course, and I'll talk more. You know, Ron obviously he pretty much does it all. He's there for all of it, and that's the reason he's sitting up here with us. So I do want to mention the Booster Club officers. Teresa Smith, who was with us this year, despite not having anybody associated with the program, which that's changed now, so thank goodness Landon's here. Teresa Caldwell, who was the one blasting out emails. I said last year wasn't as bad because Miss Patty Wright was the one responsible for doing that, and we had about 32 rainouts, so she had a lot more to do. But Teresa, I know it's a headache. Marty Crabtree helped with Teresa with the treasury. Keith Hall as the vice president, and of course Ron as the president. So with those people, the Booster Club functions we have, I remember Coach Laxon was kind of in my shoes, the same shoes I was in last year. He came to the first Booster Club meeting, kind of where we introduced him, and he was like, "Man," he said, "this is pretty well organized." And I said, "This," and I still appreciate that, and I haven't forgot it just in my short time here. So thank you to those people. Again, I should spend more time here, but I'm hot already, so we're going to speed up and move on. I want to start with the season summary just a little bit, which all you were there almost every night, so you know. But I hate not to mention it. It can pretty well be summarized with this, which my roommate can tell you that after we won that, I didn't sit that down all night. I slept with it nice next to me, next to Bill. I had to give it to Coach Bell in the office the next day, but I was real excited to go get it out of the trophy case today and bring it with me. So can't tell you how proud I am of that. I mean, it just about chokes me up just talking about it. So there's a lot of hard work went into that, 2 years worth, but especially starting in the fall. Before I want to talk about some numbers real quick, and then I want to talk about what led to that, and then we'll go with the players' introductions. We were 21-10, 7-5, and 8 AAA in the regular season, which was good enough for a runner-up finish, surprisingly, but that's kind of the way the district was. Franklin County won 2 district series all year. They swept us in Columbia, which were the 2 teams that ended up finishing first and second, and they were next to last. So that's kind of the way topsy-turvy the district was all year. You know, you guys saw that. The games we won were dogfights. The games we lost were dogfights. So it's just, and it's been that way for 2 years. Even last year was a tough year. We were still always in the game. Our season was kind of the tale of 3 stories for me. We started off, as many of you remember, 2-4 and 1-3 in the district, which was not very good. I remember Lax and I sat in the press box after losing at home to Coffee County and Coach Melton. We sit up there and we're just like, man, you know, I don't get it, because we're as talented or more talented than these teams we played, and we're 0-3 right now in district play. But there's something wasn't there. The next day we went on the road to Coffee County, got a couple runs early, wasn't doing a whole lot offensively. Cam was on the mound, and I remember, I think we butt hit, walk, something to that effect. First and second, nobody out. Kind of took a mound visit, called me and said, "Look, right now, you know, we talked about after the day we had the day before, there has to be a turning point at some point where we figure out a way to win the close game." And, you know, it was no hoorah speech. It was just kind of, this would be a really good time to do it because we're still pretty early. And we did it. We got out of that inning. We went on to win 2-0. I don't want to put too much importance on that, but I felt like, in my mind, that was what stopped that 2-4 start, and even going back to their losing ways of the year before. And, well, I think we won 15 out of 18 after that. Which include wins over Bradley, who spent the whole year in the top 10, made it to the sectional. And Bearden, who spent the whole year in the top 10 in the state. Of course, everybody we played in the district during that stretch. Then we hit another hard time, and a bad time to do it. And Laxon was always the one saying, don't pick too early, don't pick too early. And we was always afraid we were going to do that. But we were brought back down to earth by my buddies at Franklin County in the Lighthouse game, unfortunately. Sorry, Mike. And had a bad week. We started that week 0-3 with the loss to Marshall County. You know, we didn't have a lot of our guys that day. But that was a big deal. The big deal was being able to come back on Saturday of that week in a game where if we win, we're a 2 seed, which those of you who don't know is a huge deal because you get a bye in the tournament. But if you lose, we were all the way to a 4, which is also a big deal because in the history of this district up until this year, there had never been a team advance out of the tournament, at least under this current playoff format, that wasn't a top 2 seed. I knew that. I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want them thinking if we lose, but which that did change this year. Columbia got out, but I knew that going in. And that game against Cheville was so important, and we were on a 3-game losing streak, and it was kind of gut-checking time, and we had the guts, and we were able to down 1-0. Even within the game, it was a topsy-turvy thing. We got about 5 guys picked off, which is my fault, and we found a way to win in the 7th. Got 2 in the 7th off of the guy who was he was the district pitcher of the year. So we fought, and that was something we did all year long. A few more numbers, and then I'm going to move on past this. And these were just things that I thought were really impressive. When you talk about high school baseball, these are the types of numbers, especially at this level, which in my opinion is the highest level in the state, top 2 or 3 district in the state. We hit 318 as a team, which is pretty good, really good. Here's one that's really good. We had, as a pitching staff, we struck out 162 people and only walked 74. If there was any one on-field difference between last year and this year, that was it. It was the walks. We just didn't walk people. 74 in a lot of innings. I should have wrote that down, but 162 to 74, that's better than 2 to 1. That's really, really good. Along with that, 3.22 ERA, which is really good. And the one I'm really proud of is a 945 team fielding percentage. And that's one Coach Laxton should also be very proud of for all the work he put in with the defenders. So just those are great numbers. Those are the types of numbers that are benchmark numbers. If you can do that from a number standpoint, year in, year out, you're going to be really, really successful. And that's why we were successful this year. And I'm almost there to the class intros. It all started, though, in August. I mean, it really did. Most people, you see what we do from February on, but the parents can tell you. The boys went home at times really hating Coach Laxton for pickups. But those pickups, and I was made a believer in Coach Laxton come in and really kind of took over our off-season weight training stuff, and he made a believer out of me in the 3rd inning, I think, 2nd or 3rd inning of the 1st game when Garrett Holland hit a home run. And so that told me that what we'd done in the weight room, it paid off. And that was step 1, but, you know, it was a big step. And our numbers were just, there's a direct correlation. There's no doubt in my mind. What we did in August was that's what set the tone, and not just August, but September, October, all the way through the fall, heading into the preseason. You know, we worked. We got 4th block taken away from us, so we were there till 5 o'clock sometimes in the fall. But the attitude was unbelievable. We had to do nothing, almost nothing, from a leadership standpoint because of the 9 seniors in the room and some of the underclassmen, and credit the underclassmen as well because they were the first ones to follow in and even at times step up when they needed to. But in top to bottom, 1 through 9 seniors, we never had to have a talk about discipline, about motivation, about detail. We did still have those talks. We didn't have to because it was there from the start. It was just, you know, and Coach Bell, I know, told me early in the year, said, Coach, your 1st to 2nd year, that's when they're going to figure it out. And we figured it out, and it has all to do, you know, look at the academics with that group. I think, I didn't write this down, so I'm scared to say it, but I think we had 4 of the top 10%, is that right? 4 in the top 10% of the graduating class. That's, I don't know, Mike, you had a group 2011 that was close to that. We had 4. We had 4 in the top 10%. I mean, and you know, and you can be smart and still not be a great person. These people, they're just great people. And I've said that from the start. You know, you can't always say that with groups. You might say it, but I can genuinely say it, that 9 people may never make a penny playing baseball among the 9 of them, but they're going to be successful people because they're good people. And that was evident from the first time we got together as a team. And I'll talk more about them. So right now, I want to start how I want to do this. I want everybody to get recognized because it was started as a 1 through 32 effort, ended up as about a 1 through 26 effort. But the 26 guy, and I say this all the time, you're only as good as the last guy on your dugout and his attitude. And so I want to recognize every one of these guys. We'll do it quickly. So if I can just have all the freshmen come right up here. We're missing some. So just come on. I'll call your name as you're coming. Cade Cooper, Eli Cross, I don't think either one of those are here. Devin Gifford, also not here. Ryan McAdams is here. Come on up, Ryan. Garrett Warden's here. Ben Walp's not here. Tucker Webb is here. Sammy Sharp is here. And Devin Hudgens is here. So if y'all just come up, I want to talk about each one of these guys briefly. This group, and along with those that aren't here, you know, we said this, Coach Laxton and I said this from the start. These were the guys, as good an attitude as we had, we weren't always the most chipper bunch in the fall. But these guys brought some of that chipperness, that's not a word, but they were happy to be there. They were happy to be there in the fall, particularly when it's not always the funnest time to be there, the most fun to be there. They were always really excited to be there. And each one of them, Sammy, obviously, he was one of the main one, him, Coop, and his buddy sitting there next to him, Tuck. Those three were always they were happy to be there. And that's important. I mean, that's so important because it can be a drag. But Sammy played left field on opening day for us, played left field every time Chandler pitched, and Chandler led the team in pitching. So, and I thought about this as I was getting all this stuff ready. I can't think of one ball Sammy misplayed. I know he had 0 errors. I can't even think of a misplay. And as a freshman to come in and do that, and I think we told him on Sunday before he started on Wednesday, hey, by the way, you're probably going to start on Wednesday, so get ready. So it's kind of a shock to him. He didn't bat an eye. I didn't figure he would because that's the kind of guy he is. He, like I say, didn't even misplay a ball. And those of you who were around last year, you saw what misplayed balls in the outfield can do, and they're bad. And we didn't have that, not just from him, but any of them. But for a freshman to do that, and Sammy's going to be a guy we lean on big time next year, not just in the outfield, but at the plate. So he knows what's coming. Tucker Webb, the next guy there. Tucker, more so than even Sammy or Cade, who's not here, is happy to be there. And Tuck lets you know it, and we love having him there. He was there at camp today. The kids love him. He's just infectious. I mean, you guys, all y'all know him. On the field, he, in the summer, I didn't know any of these guys well last summer. This time last year, I was a little bit worried about, and Tuck knows this, talked to him about it, about kind of his demeanor on the mound. He's an emotional guy, which is a good thing, but on the mound, a lot of times you need to check that. He did that from day one when he started throwing in the pen. He was able to check that emotion. He pitched great for us in the JV. He's a guy who will get lots and lots of innings next year. He's a guy who's going to compete. He got cheated out a couple home runs in JV thanks to Marshall County's 450-foot left center field. He hit 2 balls that would have no doubt been gone, which we may never heard the end of if they had been gone, so I'm kind of thankful they weren't. But no, Tuck is going to be another guy, along with Sammy and every other guy standing up here, that's going to be huge pieces for the puzzle next year. Hudgens obviously missed the whole year with the elbow thing. He had Tommy John on December the 29th, is that right? 28th, okay. But that's not a great thing, but when it happened, he's got his whole career ahead of him. And I've told him this before, he's as talented as anybody in the room right now. And when he gets healthy and gets on the right track, with his arm, he's going to be a guy that plugs in there from day one next year. Garrett Warden, I told Garrett about a week or so before the first game that he was going to be dressing, that his role was primarily going to be bullpen catcher. And coming from a former career bullpen catcher, that's not always the best news. So, but he took it with a smile, thanked me repeatedly for the opportunity, got a few varsity innings, and defensively he's really, really good. I mean, he threw 2 guys out in the 1 home game we played so far this summer, and he's probably going to be the main catcher next year. So as long as he continues to work, so excited about him. Ryan down there on the end, Ryan McAdams. Ryan started at third base for us every time McCoy pitched, almost, and played great. At the end of the year, he hit a big double in the Lawrence County game, ground rule double in the district tournament. Got a big hit in the championship game, and was a key part of our lineup, and to do that as a freshman is a big deal. And he's going to pitched a lot this year in the varsity, so Ryan is obviously going to be a big piece for us this year. And real quick, Cade Cooper's not here, Eli Cross is not here, Devin Gifford's not here, Ben Wap is not here. So those 9 guys now are our 2019 graduates. Good job, guys. Have a seat. All right, this might take a minute, so get a drink of water. Our sophomore class, last man standing, Daniel, you can go ahead and come up, Daniel Richardson. Daniel, my biggest on-field memory from Daniel this year was the first preseason game at Saudi. We were on about shortstop number 7, which means Nealon had to slide from second to short, and Coach likes Kyle, and we found out when we got there, the guy we planned on putting there was not going to be able to go because of an injury. Literally, when we got off the bus after a 2.5-hour ride, and we kind of talked what do you want to do, and I said, well, we go D-Rich at short. So that's what we did, and he might not admit it now, but he was nervous as a cat. And so, but he went out there, he made a play specifically in the 3-4 hole, And defensively, this guy got so much better. He's still got ways, he's still got to work on his offense, which he does. He texts me all the time, won't know if he can come hit. So this is the hardest worker on the team, and I say that without a doubt. I won't say hardest, but as hard working as anybody. I know for sure, I'm not sure about there's some others that have a chance, but for sure we'll have another top 10% guy here in about 2 years, thanks to Daniel. So this is just, he probably not got to play as much as he wanted to, but I guarantee you with his work ethic, he's going to fix that starting next year as a junior. So Daniel Richardson, last man standing. All right, juniors. There are 7 of these. I think we have all but one of them. So if you juniors want to come on up, this is our 17 graduates: Joe Allen Alcorn, Garrett Jean, Landon Kohler, Kyle Hall, Caleb Crabtree, Nathan Harwell, and Seth Bertarelli. So if y'all want to come on up real quick. All right, Kyle, first, we'll just go in order here. Kyle was our courtesy runner this year, our main courtesy runner, and Kyle is a great example of what I'm going to talk about more in a minute, of understanding your role and accepting it. And this is something I had to learn firsthand. Like I said, I went from a guy who started every game of his high school career to didn't hardly play at all in college. And so I had to learn real quick that catching my bullpen was the most important thing I was going to do for Tennessee Wesleyan that day. And Kyle understood from the start the most important thing he was going to do for Lincoln County on most days was courtesy run, and he took pride in that. This guy's a still in third machine. He gets great jumps, and that's because he works at it. When we do BP, we have lots of guys, and I allow it to happen, so I'm not griping about it, but that go through the motions as they're running the bases during BP. He does not. He is sprinting back to tag up at second. He is getting a great jump on his hit and run, and he took pride in knowing what his role was. He's converting to the outfield primarily, and done that with a smile on his face. I think he's happy to be there. It's pretty hot behind the plate. You get beat up, so he'll still catch, but he'll be another guy that probably he's going to hit a lot, or he's going to hit every day probably, and he's going to be in the outfield for us next year along with some catching. So Kyle Hall, Neelan Harwell started pretty much every day at second base. I think he missed one start. Second base was great defensively all year, and we felt like that going in preseason that he was going to be really good. He was up and down at the plate, had some huge hits, had a huge double against Tullahoma at home that we don't win the game if you don't hit. You remember that? I thought you might. Okay. He was a tough out in the postseason. He kind of cooled off in between that Tullahoma hit in the postseason and got hot in the postseason. And for a seven-hole guy, he was as tough out as they come. And like I said, just did everything we asked to defensively. He'll be a guy next year that if he doesn't play good defensively, we just won't be very good, but he will. Landon Kohler, next guy there. Landon was another one, kind of like I mentioned Daniel a minute ago, just great person to be around, never complained, never griped. In his opportunities, I think he ended up in about 16 or so bats, I didn't write it down, it hit 500. So every time, I know against Marshall County, he hit a double in a start. Played a little bit of third. He's another one that's looking to position change and doing it with a smile. I know him, these 3 standing right here in particular, have been already working on their own, getting ready for next year. And these are your seniors. So these are the guys we're going to lean on. Who's next? Caleb Crabtree started on opening day as DH. DH'd off and on throughout the year based on kind of the matchup, the righty-lefty. His biggest unfortunate thing for him was there was a lot of lefties in our district, and we tried to stay away from the lefty-lefty. He was a guy who had another kind of a stroke of bad luck, and I've talked to him about it a little bit before. He was going to have a chance to play first base every day. Tyler McCowan's arm went down. That was the only place he could play. But Caleb understood, and he's in line to be that guy again next year. And, he's going to be big for us on the mound, too. He actually pitched great the other day. Next is Garrett Jean. Garrett had a great outing against a state tournament. I think finished Final Four, Murfreesboro Central in AA. I think he threw about 4 1/3, gave up like 2 runs. Great outing there. He'll be a guy that we're leaning on more and more, especially out of the bullpen going into next year. And is always happy to be a PO and sit on his bucket on the shag bucket. So, Joe Allen is a guy next year that we're going to lean on. He's been hitting fourth for us and taking pretty good swings. If we can just convince people not to throw him curveballs, we'll be in good shape. But he is a BP machine. And Joe Allen's another one, just always, as you can see, a smile on his face, yes or no, sir. Just a product of a great family, and will be should have a successful year next year. But regardless of what happens, going to be a great person, just like all these guys. So this is your, and we're missing. I almost forgot Seth Bertarelli. Who is, I think, away at basketball, which is where a couple others are. Seth, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who didn't see, he was as big as anybody we had on the mound. He threw, I think he finished second on the team with 40 innings, 40 and 2/3 that counted. Cam got 6+, stole from him. But he was 3-1, had 4 saves. 30 strikeouts to 11 walks, which is unbelievable. 2.75 ERA. He is a guy on the mound, and again, not here, but he will be going in. He's our horse next year, and everybody knows it. And he's going to be a guy we lean on a lot. So, with Seth included, Seth Bertarelli, that is your 2017 class. Thank you, guys. All right, before I introduce the seniors, I want to let a guy, and we'll do them individually, but I want to let a guy who I've already mentioned who is very important in this program, very important to me, but I want to let Mike Weatherington say a few things right now.
Well, my main purpose today is to talk about the Austin Murphy Award. And we'll get to that in a second, but if I can see my iPhone, I've made a few notes to talk about. Just entitled a very short speech, and it's called Champions. Very simply, Champions. 2008, Lincoln County baseball was number 5 in the state. We had a team that could hit anything, anywhere. So everybody came back the next year except for 2 players. So obviously that team is probably going to win the state. No, we didn't make it out of district. Okay, we didn't make it out of district. 2012. 6-1 lead against Columbia, and we must have thrown Riley, 250 pitches in 2 days or something like that, and we ran out of pitchers, and we lost to Columbia. That would have got us to district, okay, not district, but region. Of course, year after that, we changed coaches again, and, everything, we got this young guy comes along here, and I'm sitting there thinking when Coach Bell brought him out, I said, somebody's going to give this kid a chance. And we finished last. And Paul Henry told me last year, he said, even when he knew the game was pretty much at hand and we were going to be out and we were going to be last in district, he was still coaching. Well, one of the common denominators we had through the last 8-10 years I've been involved with Falcon baseball was assistant coaches. And now we're at a point where we got 3 coaches that walk the halls every day. Coach Melton's been great for the team, and he's already talked about Coach Laxon. I mean, what a class family we've got here with the Laxons. I mean, we're so fortunate to have them as well. And if I had another son, I would love for them to play for these guys. I'm going to tell you, I would absolutely love that. Webster's Dictionary defines champion. Okay, now guys, Webster's Dictionary is not to be confused with Google, Bing, Yelp, or any of that stuff. Okay, there is actually something called Webster's Dictionary. A victor in a challenge, contest, or competition. Okay? Victor in a contest, competition. Those of us out in what me and Lynn Sharp were joking earlier about our 2 22-year-olds who are kind of getting a real dose of what this real world is now. you know. Oh my God, this is what it's really like. You know, you go to work and you work this many hours and you learn. You want to be a champion, not just on the athletic field. You guys will forever be bonded by the fact that you were the district champions this year. And Lincoln County has put several players in minor league baseball. They've had teams ranked as high as number 3 in the state back in the 90s. But this group of kids is the 2nd district champion, tournament champion. They won some regular seasons, but this is only the 2nd tournament champion. Now, how many teams next year have a chance to repeat as District 8 AAA tournament champions? 1. Us. Teamwork. I think this year's team probably embodied teamwork more than any team I have seen in a long time. When you were 0-3, Coach, I was kind of wondering, you know, and I'm sitting there just gripping Game Changer. And what always gets me on Game Changer is I'll be somewhere far away or something and the internet ain't working, okay? Right. And so I'm pushing that button and it says update 25 minutes ago, so I'm wondering what is going on, you know. I don't want to call somebody. But I'm sitting there pushing that button. And when I saw we had won at Coffee County, I said, well, that's probably a big deal. And of course, you went from there, you know. I don't think anybody on this team cares who the best player is. And I'm not 100% sure you can identify who the best player on this team was. And I also don't think it's important. It's not, we have 30 employees at ADC. It's not important for me to determine who the best employee is. All I want to know is that I've got the best team out in this industry every day, and we do have the best team in our industry based on all the awards and stuff we win and the fact that people keep using us. So we get to do some nice stuff like this. But teamwork. The way a team plays as a whole determines its success. You may have the greatest bunch of individual stars in the world, but if they don't play together, the club's not worth a dime. The 2009 Falcons, coming off a state tournament appearance the year before, they got worried about who was getting the credit. Probably one of the greatest football teams I ever saw was the 2003 Lincoln County Falcons. But they got to fighting over who was going to score the touchdown. And they didn't win a state title. You got to play together as a team. Who won last year's Super Bowl? Broncos. Okay, why did they win the Super Bowl? Don't say Peyton Manning. They won the Super Bowl because they played as a team. Probably for the first time in Peyton Manning's career, he realized I ain't got to do all this. I don't have to throw for 5 touchdowns. I just got to keep from fumbling the ball and throwing an interception. If I can do that, this defense is going to win. And I sure wouldn't want Von Miller coming after me, is all I can tell you. Winners win. It's very simple. I had the occasion on April 11th of this year to go to that place. It's about 45 miles southwest, I think, of Birmingham. And there was a ball field there, a $42 million ball field. I got to go down to the University of Alabama and see 2 former Falcons on the field at the same time. And it just about shocked Riley to death when he come running by, but we had Riley and Alex Page there. They didn't know we were coming, not even Alex. And the minute they saw each other, the first thing they did was hug. Alex was 2 years ahead of Riley in school. But the bond they had is that they were Falcons. I never got to wear your uniform because I didn't live here, but I do get to wear the shirt. And I'll always be a Falcon. Sitting there, you guys know I travel a lot. I'm in Jekyll Island, Georgia, which is a beautiful place. Okay, there's all kind of stuff to do in Jekyll Island, Georgia. On Monday night, I'm in a place called the Crane Cottage, which, if you look it up online, it's the Crane Plumbing Empire built this cottage back in the early 1900s, and it's pretty magnificent. Well, I'm sitting here on my phone watching Game Changer, okay? And I mean, I'm just chomping because y'all are playing Lawrence County. And if you win that game, we go to region. And there's people all around me, and for long, they're interested in the game. And we win the game. Now, the Game Changer quit. I mean, my internet quit, not Game Changer. Whoever did Game Changer the last 3 years, thank you. And so I went on TuneIn Radio and got Lawrenceburg's radio station. And I caught the last little bit of it. They interviewed Brad White, who's our head coach. Brad was head coach at Tullahoma for, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. Very, very successful coach, which it helps when you got 2 Sheffields on the team. But I mean, he was a very successful coach who I respect a lot and is a very close friend. He got on the radio and he said, Lincoln County is the best team in this league. They're better than us. He said, we got a chance to play for region tomorrow night. He said, but we played the best team tonight, and that's why we didn't win. I really respected that. Kind of like what you said after the first Franklin County game, Coach. They just kind of, they beat us. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know exactly how you put the wording, but they did beat us. It does happen. So on my wall, I've got a number of pictures. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you can't see these. This is the 6 people throwing the balls out, the 6 cancer survivors throwing the balls out at the Lighthouse Classic, okay? This is going to stay on the wall for a while. I will take it down when you win the district next year, okay? Now, before I talk about Austin, the one thing that sticks in my memory that told me that this is a group of champions, not just kids, but also their families. I really think if we'd have played Stewart Creek 2 out of 3, we'd have beat the mess out of them the next 2 games. I think we could have beat them. On that particular night, we didn't. And as disappointed as our boys were, and some of the seniors, it's the last game they'll ever play, they kneeled at the pitcher's mound and they prayed with the team that they had just played. And that's when I said, okay, they get it. They get it. I talk to you guys all the time about being champions in life, and you get it. A lot of you probably don't know who Austin Murphy is. And I may get the dates a little wrong, but Austin Murphy was diagnosed with cancer 2001. He was about 7 years old. That kid could fly. On the soccer field, nobody could catch him. If he got out ahead on the soccer field, he was just going to score. You might as well get back on defense. He was a good baseball player. For whatever reason, he had a growth on the back of his neck the size of a lemon that was cancerous. And he spent 9 months at St. Jude's Hospital. He's had so much chemo, so much radiation. It's had a big-time adverse effect on his life. Things are tough for Austin. It's a struggle for him to do things that the rest of us can do with no problem. It's a real struggle for Austin. 2012 would have been Austin's senior year. He was actually a junior, and he did wind up graduating the following year. But you guys have probably seen this picture. For one night, Austin was the most popular kid. One night and one day, he was the most popular kid in school. We had a St. Jude's night honoring Austin Murphy. Well, not only that, we had special jerseys made. Of course, these guys love their camo. And on the front of it, it said, "Fighting for a Cure." And on the back, every player's name was Austin. So for that one night, Austin was like everybody else. We, last game of the season when we lost, that last game's always tough, parents. I don't care whether it's in region, whether it's in district, or when it is. I stayed back at the field, and I was the only one there and turned the lights off. Didn't want nobody around, just wanted to walk around the field because it was the last time I'd ever be a part of having a kid on the field of coaching. And our coach came riding back. Well, so I'm figuring he had the same thoughts I did. And he made a comment to me about our son, my really nice son. He said he played above his head all year. He said, I don't mean to say that to say to you that he's not a good player. I mean, my son was a good high school player, okay? Doesn't mean he was going to be a college player. Coach Corbin came down to our field to scout Jordan Sheffield about 6 weeks before, and I struck up a conversation with him, as you guys know I do sometimes. And after the game, he said, tell Jackson he played a good game. So I said, Jackson, you played a good game. Coach Corbin said you played a good game. He said, really? I said, yeah, son. He said, I said, he didn't offer you a scholarship. He said you played a good game, okay? But he said for his ability, he played above his talent. And those are the things that I look for in business. I look for people that can exceed what they think they can do. And then if they can work as a team, think about what you've got. So we came up with the Austin Murphy Rise Above Award, which is a $1,000 scholarship presented each year to the athlete who, in the coach's estimation, played the most above their ability. And I love this year's choice. I love last year's choice and the year before. Every year I so like the choices that we've made for different things that those kids have done. And so I'll turn this back over to you, Coach, and are you going to do that now? And if I could have Sandy Austin, who is Austin's grandmother, and Steve Austin come up. We'll need to get a picture and.
Sure. All right. Appreciate y'all coming on up. I do want to say a few things about this recipient before I call him up, and it's going to be pretty evident pretty quickly who I'm talking about, but if you will just wait till I get ready for you. This is a guy who I sit down, and when Mike, and of course I knew about this award, and Logan Smith received it last year, and this is, and I felt like he was an obvious choice. It gets no more obvious than this year's recipient. I sit in a exit meeting with him that we have with all the players individual in December, and I said, I do not expect you to hit 300. We don't need that from you. We need you to play solid at your position, make all the routine plays, and find a way to get on base every now and again, have productive outs. This is a guy, and to finish that point, he hit 308. So I'm an idiot, but I could stop right there and say that he exceeded his expectations, which is exactly what Mike just talked about. Beyond that, he's just a great person. He comes from a great family. He's a great teammate. Had a conversation with at Coffee County, which we go back to that game. Seems like more than I even intended to. We pinch hit for him, and that's kind of a tough deal. At the time, I think Kyle Hall was swinging it really well. He wasn't, and I said, hey, and this is tough, especially for a senior. You're not going to hit right here. We're going to hit this circuit. And that's one that I hate doing that as a head coach. Never had to do this. I hate doing that because you're kind of, I don't think you're good enough right now, but sometimes that's the case. And he said, yes, sir. He turned around, he stood on the front step of the dugout, and he was the first guy to congratulate Kyle, because I think Kyle did get on. Defensively, I remember one misplay, and that was against Chevrolet in the district tournament, but he made all kinds of diving plays. I remember I had a buddy of mine I played high school baseball with come watch us one day. He said, man, that right fielder, boy, that'll nothing get down on him. Of course, I've already mentioned the home run versus Columbia, which that far and away exceeded my expectation. And then the district championship game, also against Columbia, and and it's funny, I wrote this down first before the home run, and I really do think of this before that. And Mike talked about not caring who got the credit. Our 9-hole hitter, which of course was Garrett Holland, was 2 for 2 with a walk, scored 2 runs, and had an RBI in the district championship game. So in my mind, when I think about this award, there is no doubt that the Austin Murphy Rise Above Award winner should have been and is Garrett Holland.
picture.
Yeah, if-
Go ahead and get the picture now.
Paul, yep.
There you go.
While Paul's getting up here, in addition to the plaque that he's receiving, this is one that will be in my office in the press box. It's annual, the Austin Murphy Rise Above Award. Zach Harwell, who's in the room, was the first recipient. Nick Gatlin, Logan Smith last year, and of course now Garrett Holland has been added to that. Thank you. All right, the next guy is one that had a difficult role, and I talked about earlier with some of the young guys about how important it is on any good team, and Mike kind of alluded to this, talking about his 30 employees. Everybody has to have a role and understand one, and the roles that you get are not always the ones that you want. They're not the most glamorous roles, but the reason we were successful is because guys like this guy did not care about that. He showed up, and done what was asked, never complained, didn't always say a whole lot, but that's personality, and then we've got plenty of other guys like that. His role, which is, again, not a glamorous one, was the number 2 catcher, and he caught 6 games doing that. It's a tough role, especially for a senior. It's one that, like I say, I've been through. I understand how tough that is, but again, it's guys like this, and he particularly called it a glue guy, a guy that without this guy, the program just doesn't run as it otherwise might. And I will forever be grateful to Ethan for, again, his good attitude, showed up when he was supposed to, done what was asked. We called his number 6 times to catch, got a couple of hits, was solid as he could be behind the plate, and did it with a smile. So a senior award, and again, a guy just the glue guy, was Ethan Pruitt. In addition to, and I forgot about all this, so each one, and Garrett, I've got yours. Sadie Hughes worked by herself tirelessly. She was at every home game, I think, in the press box, helping out, doing whatever was asked of her. In addition to all that, she put together these scrapbooks, which all you senior parents obviously will have a chance to look through. These things are pretty impressive, very, very labor intensive. So she's going to be handing those as the seniors come up in addition to their plaques. In addition to all that, each senior, and I got Kirby's because it was right here, will receive a poster that looks like this one. This was actually typically something we do on senior night. Just wasn't ready this year, but I think it was worth the wait because these things look really, really good. As you leave the night, you just don't have enough hands. You can get it on your way out. They will also, and this is something that we did for the seniors last year and this year, they will get their jersey in a frame. This is not the one we wore this year, but they're brand new and they're expensive. So it's pretty close though. So you get each senior will also receive their number jersey in a frame thing. So that'll go home with them tonight. Forgot about that. All right, back on track here. All right, the next guy. And I feel like a broken record here, but understood his role. And I know I just got off that. But this was a guy that understood his role so well. When I would turn to the dugout and say, Ty, go to the pen, he was already with his glove and headed down because he knew exactly in the game when it was that time. He ended up pitching 23 2/3 innings, which was 4th on the team. That's a big deal. I tell you, it says a lot. First of all, just from a personal standpoint, the amount that Ty matured in my mind and from last year to this year, and I'll tell you, last year, and he knows this, and so I'm not surprising him. Last year, if a teacher came to me at school about Ty, it was usually not great news. He's not a troublemaker, but it was just not always great. This year, and it's not that he was in trouble, it's just that we need a little push. This year, and I swear I'm not making this up, I had, in the first semester, I think 3 of his 4 teachers, and I just don't ever see them all, came to me at some point, made a point to say, I don't know what you did to Ty, and of course there's nothing I did, but his attitude, his effort is just so much, and I told him this from the start, he just matured in a way that you don't see, especially at that age, because the time you get that age, you're kind of what you're going to be. Ty wasn't. Ty is a better human and a better person standing right here today without a doubt than he was this time last year. And I think that's as important as anything that happened on the field. But like I say, 23 and 2/3 innings, which was 4th on the team in a 2-2 record. I think probably my highlight for him, and I'm sure his own, against Bradley. And I think more so than the numbers, the way this happened, and if you probably may not remember, we played him the first weekend, and he got roughed up a little bit. I think we got beat 6-0, didn't pitch great. Next weekend, I didn't want to run him out there against Bradley again because he had some bad thoughts about Bradley. Let's try him against somebody else. Seth goes out against Bradley, and after 2 innings is about to pass out in the dugout. Apparently he forgot his Snickers bar. And so Ty was like, I'll go. And I was like, all right, go. So here, we'll try it again. And he went out there, and for 5 innings, I think he gave up 1 or 2 runs, but beat them. We won 5-2, a team that, again, was in the top 10 all year and got beat 1-0 a game away from the state tournament. And he was just better than they were. And I believe that without a doubt. Ty, who knew his role as our number 4, was good enough to beat a team that good. And I think that says a lot, not only about Ty, but our entire pitching staff. So, again, the senior award is Ty Sprague. We're out of hands here. We'll just thanks, man. All right. This was a guy, another senior, obviously. I wanted to come up with something different from him because he's unlike any player that we really had last year in a lot of ways. He was truly, and his stuff was not about numbers, but he was truly another coach on the field. And in so many ways, he reminds me of myself as a senior high school baseball player because I was like him, not real fast, didn't have a real great arm, but I got by on what I had because I understood the game and I watched the game and I took pride in the little things, and that's exactly what this person did. I remember he was on a visit. I think it was to Mississippi State. It might have been to Ole Miss. And he texted me, said, Coach, they're doing 21 outs just like we do. And I'm thinking, who cares? And I was like, but that's the kind of guy that he is he took pride in that detail, and that's that's what made him such a good high school player. He was the shortstop on, in my mind, and I think Coach Bartlett, who was Coach Stewart's Creek, and I should have mentioned this before, he called me after the state tournament, took time out and say, Coach, if you don't know, they made it to the Final Four, their bracket's final, said, you guys were as good as anybody would play. So in my mind, that puts us at least in the top 10. So top 10 team, he was a shortstop on the team, played shortstop almost every single inning, which was a role that was not supposed to be his. Tyler was supposed to be our shortstop. He was our returning shortstop. But with his arm injury, Brandon had to slide into that role literally about 4 weeks before the season start. He did it without a blink in his eye, and he just got the absolute most of it. And he did that, and I want to mention this too about his competitiveness, and I can sum that up in this way. We played Bearden, who we were 2-4, and I was looking at what Bearden did. They went down and beat IMG Academy, and I don't know if y'all know who that is, but it's this prep school who is one of the top 5 teams in the country, without a doubt. They've got guys who are just either ineligible or whatever to already play in college. They're 19, 20 years old, and they're unbelievable. They still get to play in high school. Bearden went down and beat them about 3 days before we were supposed to play them, and I was thinking, oh, gosh, we're 2-4. We're going to be playing a lot of games that week. How do we want to do this? And Coach Laxton and Coach Melton and I talked about it. So let's throw Brandon out there, because even if he does give up 100, at least he won't hang his head because he's a competitor. And he went out there and we beat him 4-2, and he pretty much dominated them. I mean, he kept the ball down, and that was because of his competitiveness. He didn't have a great arm, like I said before, but because of his competitiveness, understanding what it took to win, because of his attention to detail, which is something I hope the guys sitting on this side of the room can learn from, is that detail. So because of all that, because he reminded me of myself, we came up with the Coaches Award, and the first recipient is Brandon Kerber. All right, almost there. The next guy, obviously, and we'll just get that. This is real quick who this one is. Special place in my heart because he's a catcher. And you can sum up what he meant to us with this one stat, which is one that amazes me. We as a team in 31 games, 31 games, stole 69 bases as a team. Our opponents stole 22. Maybe the casual fan don't understand what it is. That is unbelievable. That's a single into a double that did not, that's 47, difference of 47. That is unreal, and it's because of this guy. Our pitchers did a pretty good job of having quick times, and young catchers in the room. It's because Kirby, in between innings, threw the ball like he was trying to throw the winning run out, and they see that 2-0, 2-2 pop time, and they don't run. And that alone was enough to give him the award we're going to give him. But in addition to that, he was absolutely in control of the game at all times. He knew exactly every bunt / first and third / pick play, what every person at his position was supposed to do. He was truly the quarterback of our team, which is what you have to have behind the plate. He blocked and received tremendously well. From the start, when I got here 2 years ago, I'll be honest, I thought I was really concerned about his defense. But what he did in the offseason, changing his body and improving his athleticism, was something like I've honestly never seen anyone do. And because of that, he was an unbelievable defensive catcher. At the plate, he hit fourth for us all year long. I told him, I think he may have started third, ended up fourth. I said, look, this is what you're going to do, and I don't care if you hit 200, if you hit 400, you're going to hit third or fourth, and you're going to hit the middle lineup. And he took that. He didn't always have the success he wanted offensively, but he grew up as a player, and I think about Coach Melton's comments, and this happened right about, I keep going back to it, the second week of the season, first couple games, and we had a long talk about understanding and handling failure, and he would come off, and his signature move was to rip his batting gloves plumb off. So I can't imagine what y'all spent in batting gloves. But Coach Melton came to me and said, hey, Kirby has figured it out. I said, what do you mean? He said, no longer is he coming in throwing helmets, stuff like that. He's coming in and saying, Coach, what I need to do. And if y'all, Coach Melton, who's not here tonight, is the best hitting mind I've ever been around, particularly in high school baseball. And Kirby would go to him, what do I need to do to get better? And that change, that maturity is something that made us as good as we were. But because of what Kirby did for us defensively, Kirby Smith is our Defensive Player of the Year. Thanks, Kirby. All right, the next guy is one of three that I've known for about 4 years now, I think. So kind of feel like I'm losing a little brother with these guys and all these guys, but these guys are just known for so long, and they're honestly a lot of the reason I found Lincoln County. That's how I got here. These guys, I will always remember them just a little differently because I did know them so much longer. Jacob was, and is, we didn't always see eye to eye at times. We had a lot of deep talks, and I literally feel like I've seen him grow up so much in the 4 years. He was one, kind of like I just mentioned Kirby, that didn't understand how to handle failure a whole lot. He did that as the year went on. Jacob is physically about the same. He's got stronger, and don't get me wrong, he and Kirby probably more so than anyone on their bodies, on the weight training side of it, more than anyone. But the tools are the same now as they were last year. And I think last year he hit about 200. This year he hit 391. He was second on the team in OPS, which that's on base plus slugging, which you talk to anybody now, that's probably the best, the telltale sign of a good hitter. He stole 16 bases. He's the fastest. Coach likes to say he's the fastest white kid I've ever seen. And that's the truth. And he started in center, and this says a lot about Jacob too. And one I almost forgot. After the year last year, those of you remember, we struggled a little bit in the outfield. He came to me and said, Coach, I want to play center when Chandler pitches. And I said, well, we might. He said, no, I want to play center. And I said, well, all right, we'll give you a shot. And he played center every time Chandler pitched, and he played it great. And he played left when Chandler wasn't pitching, played that great as well. And I just he means a lot to me. His family does. Again, I feel like, it's going to be tough not having him around along with all these guys, but I'm just so used to seeing these guys. But anyways, All District 8 AAA, which was a big honor, one of our 4 recipients, and the baseball award, and he was truly and he is a baseball guy, is Jacob Dickinson. All right, the next guy, if there's one guy that felt the difference in the 2 years playing for me and being a junior and a senior, it was without a doubt this guy. Cam is another one that I've known for 3 years, probably knew him the longest, him and Chandler, 4 years. And Cam, coming into last year, my first year here, I knew Cam, I knew Chandler, I knew Jacob, but I knew Cam was going to go out there and pound the strike zone at low to mid 80s, throw a slider, curve change for a strike. And it didn't happen. He just, for whatever reason, I talked about this last year, it just didn't happen. And in the summer, and some of y'all, probably very few of you know this, we played a game at MTSU with the Tennessee Twisters, which is a summer organization that probably got me here. Cam was with us, and we was at MTSU. I brought him in relief, and I think he threw like 16 straight balls. And we were getting killed. I don't even know what the score was. I didn't care. It was hot. I was ready to go home. So I walked down the mound, and I don't know what he was thinking. If I was him, I would be thinking, just take this ball from me, please. And I walked out there and said, I don't care if you throw 150 pitches, you're going to get out of this inning, and we're going to take our run rule and go to the house. And he went out there, and I think got the next 3 guys, and that moment, and it speaks to his toughness, because I can't imagine for a guy as competitive as he is, that loves baseball as much as he has and poured as much of his life into it, what last year must have been like for him. But for him to flip that switch as quickly as he did speaks to his character, his toughness, and his perseverance. So that leads us to this year, where he was what I thought he was. He threw 37 innings. He really should have had, I think, 46 plus. But we got 6 innings stole from him at Shelbyville, which may have been 6 of his best innings of the year. Had a 5-2 record, which was the best winning percentage on the team. He had a save. Here's a good stat for you, Paul. You'll like this one. He gave up 11 earned runs all year and walked 11 people. You talking about the difference in this year to last? I think he walked 11 people in the first 2 games last year. He struck out 41. Had by far the lowest ERA among qualifiers on our team, 2.08. And just, that line alone, I wish, and I could have done it, but I don't want to because it brings up nightmares. I wish I would put the other line underneath it from last year just to show you the difference. You cannot imagine what he went through and to overcome that's unbelievable. Not to mention, and this doesn't have anything to do with your award, but he also hit 359, which is pretty dang good. He led the team in RBIs with 26. He had 6 RBIs in the Lawrence County series, 3 in each game, which that at the time was the biggest series of the year, which each one is, but he only struck out 5 times all year, and he had over 100 plate appearances. So 100 at bats, more plate appearances than that. So tremendous offensively, but with his numbers, you cannot deny that he was the All-District 8 AAA, and Cameron McCoy was our 2016 Pitcher of the Year. All right, got 2 left. We'll get out of here eventually. This guy has been through more from an injury perspective in his 4 years than any high school player I've known. Before I got here, he had arm surgery, missed much of, I think, his sophomore year. Last year, he dealt with a hip flexor about this time last year in the summer, summer before last. He dealt with a wrist as the year went on. He's just dealt with a lot of different things. Coming into senior year, was fully healthy, was returning shortstop, was in my mind and many others' mind going to be the best shortstop, which is obviously is a premium position in our league. And had some shoulder soreness through the fall, didn't think much of it. Find out in January that he's done. He can't throw. I mean, he's not done, but he can't throw. This is a guy who had college aspirations, still does, and is plenty good enough hitter to play in college, and could have right then, and probably right this time in his life now, would be easier if he'd done this. He could have stopped right then and went and had his surgery when he found out he needed labrum surgery. Having done that, he would have missed the year. That was never an option for him. He immediately came to me and said, I can play first, or I can DH, I can do something. And, and we said, you understand what this means. You're probably going to miss a lot of your freshman year of college. I don't care. I want to play. So we said, we'll give you a shot at first. And Coach Lax and I were both skeptical. Coming from the middle infield, can he do this? It's just so much different. And not only did he do it, he is, and I can say this, and this is no disrespect to anybody that's done it in this room or anywhere else, he's the best defensive high school first baseman I've ever seen. His athleticism, his height, his length, his ability to pick balls, we got better because of that injury. And I hate that it happened, don't get me wrong. I would much rather him been at shortstop because that would have meant his shoulder was healthy. But we were better defensively with him at first. There's no doubt about it because of his ability over there. Not to mention, and this is what I want to talk about, he hit 398. He slipped under 400 at the end, and that is not, in my mind, a reflection of because he got cold. It's because word got out that he was probably the toughest out in our district. And he towards the end of the year, he was pitched to harder than anybody we had. And I had a conversation at the TBCA just a few weeks ago with Brad Frazier, Mike Crossland, who y'all know well, and Michael Carter, three of the district coaches in our district, and they said, this guy is by far, I do not want to call pitches to this guy because he is balanced. I know they threw him a really good back foot slider at Franklin County, and he hit it about 365 feet out. And that's a tough pitch to hit. So his OPS, which I mentioned before, on base plus slugging, was, I don't know how to read this, 1156, I guess, 1.156, which is really high. He scored 36 runs. He had 23 free passes, only 10 strikeouts, stole 16 bases. He was the guy, not your prototypical leadoff guy, in the fact that he did have a lot of power, but he also could run. He hit for average. He got on base. He was the guy that got us going. And because of that, he was All-District 8 AAA and the Offensive Player of the Year. Sir. All right, and lastly, most talkative guy in the room. Chandler is the only one left, so let me talk about you before you walk up here. Chandler, for 2 years, and we can talk a lot about what he did on the field, but for 2 years, most of the guys will tell you he don't say much. When he is, it's usually not of the most serious nature. But there was no doubt who wanted to win. He wanted to win as much as anybody else. He was willing to do whatever it took. Last year, as a junior, he dealt with some arm trouble pretty much from before the season started all the way through the end, and still led us in innings pitched on a team that just wasn't very good. I mean, based on your numbers, and did it with a smile and would fight me if I tried to take him out before he thought he should have went. This year, he led us again in innings pitched. We were going to live and die with Chandler, and that's just kind of the way I felt about it on the mound because he did nothing. And another one I known for 4 years. In 4 years, he did nothing to make me think that I should do anything otherwise. On the mound, he threw 53 innings, had a 5-4 record, which 5-4, and his first of all, he had 9 decisions, which is a ton. But the losses he pitched great in. There was never any doubt when he was on the mound what you were going to get. He had 2 saves, one of them being the clinching game against Shelbyville that I spoke about before with Seth Bertarelli starting. He struck out 56, which is really high. That's a lot. And he only walked 17. At the plate, he hit .434. And I can talk about him and T-Mac in a lot of the same ways from opposite sides of the plate. He only struck out 5 times. He and Cam, that's just over 100 at bats, only struck out 5 times. Just a guy in the postseason, you couldn't get him out. He had 2 or 3 hits every game in the district tournament. In the region tournament, I think he had 2 or 3 hits. He was the guy. I mean, everybody knew it. He was the guy we were going to lean on. He hit in the middle of the order. He was the guy we wanted on the mound. If they were going to hit a fly ball late in the game, I'd hope they hit it at him. And just a great high school player. And, I mean, we could go on and on about that. He was the Elk Valley Times Male Athlete of the Year for Lincoln County High School. I talked at length in that article about how I feel about him as a person. He knows that. He, along with every other guy sitting at that table, those 9 seniors I brought up here, they are if I could, 10 years from now, hopefully they'll still have me here, I'm going to talk about them as what we would like a Falcon baseball player to be. And I said that in that article. I said it about Chandler, but it is absolutely true for the rest of them. But Chandler Hardiman, because of what he did two-way, was first of all the All-District 8 AAA District Player of the Year. That's not All-District, that's District Player of the Year. And he was our team MVP for his job 2 ways. Chandler Hardiman. All right, that's all the seniors. I do want to say just a couple of things about them as a group, and I'm going to try to do this without getting too choked up. I'll never forget them. I mean, and I know I only had them for 2 years instead of the 4, but to me this was kind of, and it's got a lot to do with the year we had without a doubt, but it also has to do with their work ethic, the kind of people they are. And I wanted to say this tonight, and I think it really, I watched it last night, and it's said by a controversial person about a controversial person, but just, I was watching the Bill Clinton's eulogy of Muhammad Ali, and he said that he kind of broke Muhammad Ali's life into 2 parts. In the first part, Muhammad Ali got by on brash and athleticism, and a lot of you guys right now are in that kind of, not the brash so much, but the athletic, you got by on your physical gifts. The second part of his life started when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, which, and this is one reason it's kind of stuck with me, meaning you know that my grandfather passed away this year of Parkinson's. And in that second stage of his life, when those physical gifts were taken away from him, the reason he was an exceptional human and the reason he is revered the way he is, right or wrong, is because he made the most of the kinds of things that we all have. The toughness, the character, the perseverance, and that's what these young men, not my guys or players anymore, but these young men, that's what they did, is they took advantage and do, and I hope they continue to, of the things that everyone in this room have. And I don't always do it, and no one does, but the more you can use the things that we're all given, the better humans you'll be. And it's the reason that we won this trophy. It's the reason we had the year they had. It's the reason that I will never forget that group. And it is what I hope that those of you players, who I can still call players, will try to do going forward. Is you're not all as talented as Chandler or Tyler or any of those other guys, but you have those basic things, the toughness, and the ability to work hard, and the ability to pay attention to detail. And that is what separates normal people or great people from normal. So with that, do we have anything else that needs to be said?
Yes. Jack?
I need you guys to
Okay.
hang around minutes.
Yeah, but before we leave, all of you that received a plaque, so the 9 of you, is that it? Paul, that's one you. The 9 of you that received a plaque, I need you guys to hang around for a picture for Paul. And by the way, I didn't mention Paul. Thanks, Paul. Paul limped to every dang one of our home games. Limped to he took the picture that's on these plaques. Paul is, as you guys know, a huge part of not only Falcon baseball, but everything Falcon and City and Riverside and whatever else they make him do. So thanks to Paul. All right, so we do got something.
First, we have a gift for Miss Sadie Hughes for all the work she did for us. And then we've got some gift certificates here for our coaches. 18-hole round of golf with the cart at Saddle Creek. Sure. And then we got one for Coach Milton, one y'all said.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. All right, if that's it, we got one more thing.
Two things. Golf tournament is tentatively scheduled for the 27th of August this year. Seniors, you're dismissed from the golf tournament this year. It is tentatively scheduled for the 27th of August.
They can still come back and play though.
Oh, that's correct. I'm going to play this year. I'm going to sponsor a team. I don't know that I'll play. I didn't tell you that, but I am. And if you're coming back next year, please be looking for a email very shortly about a meeting to nominate officers, and very, very shortly after that, a meeting to elect new officers. And no, I'm not going to be 3 terms. And I know there's a lot of people here that are thankful for that. So that's all I've got. Does anybody else have anything from the floor? Glad everybody's here. I want to thank Matt, Coach Laxon, Coach Melton, who wasn't able to be with us tonight, for the year we've had, for Paul's support. Y'all, if you got kids coming back next year, enjoy it. It's over too quick. Thank you.